Good morning, everybody. You're welcome to our webinar for today. We'll just give it about 5 to 10 minutes and then we can begin. Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. You're welcome to Acrit's quarterly webinar. This is something we do once every quarter just to share knowledge and just educate ourselves, gather people together to educate ourselves on the key things that concern us as people in the oil, gas, and energy industry. So, without further much ado, um, for those who don't know, Acrit Energy Limited is hosting this webinar today, and Acrit is an energy company, an indigenous energy company with head office in Lagos, Nigeria, and we also have operations in the UK and in the Middle East. So primarily our business is in the upstream oil and gas sector, and we provide management and production optimization services to exploration and production companies, as well as technical advisory and economic advice as well for businesses. Our vision at Accurate is to have a future where the energy sector thrives on sustainable practices, operational excellence, technological advancements, and we strive to be a driving force and be more efficient, environmentally responsible, and just contribute our quota towards a successful energy landscape in Nigeria and the world at large. Our mission is to deliver more innovative solutions that empower our vision, our clients to gain deep operational insights into their assets and help to optimize their productivity overall. We are very committed to being the field management solutions partner of choice for all companies that do business in the field that we operate in. We do this through the application of best-in-class products and services. So our services, we have four major arms. Our consultancy arm, where we do integrated asset modeling, popularly known as the IEM. We do digital oil field deployment, popularly known as DOF, for those who have come across this or who have heard about it. Then we do field development planning as well, and some other services there, and that's umbrella. We also do, which is like what we are majorly known for. We have our software services arm. We deploy integrated production modeling suites to several, several um, E&P companies in Nigeria and the world with the help of our partners, Petex or P Limited, as they are now known. Um, we also do digital oil field deployment, which is still in conjunction with our partners, Petex P Limited. And then hydrocarbon accounting, which is what we'll be discussing today with our partners, Axis, Adept Solutions. The software is called Axis Hydrocarbon Accounting software. And then we do process modeling, um, aka Unisim Design. Then we also have our training arm where we do software related courses. We do general petroleum engineering courses and also petroleum business courses. So anything in the petroleum engineering sector that involves manpower development, manpower training, manpower management, Accurate is your go-to for that. And then lastly, we also offer a bit of oil field and technical services, drilling support, drilling supervision, manpower outsourcing to the fields, our gyro services, slickline, and all of that. All those fall into our oil field and technical services umbrella. So that's just a bit of what we do here, or an overview rather of what we do here at Accurate Energy Limited, for those who don't know. So our speaker for today will be Rita Ewaibukan. And Rita is a petroleum engineer, a seasoned one at that. She has a strong foundation in the technical and economic aspects of the oil and gas industry. She graduated with a first class honors in petroleum engineering from the University of Benin and began her career as a petroleum economist, where she built expertise in economic evaluation and value optimization for various upstream projects. Rita later transitioned into petroleum engineering, applying her technical knowledge to reservoir and production challenges while continuing to leverage her economic background. Along the way, she has gained valuable experience in data analysis and management, enhancing her ability to integrate engineering workflows with data-driven insights. Her unique blend of technical, economic, and analytical expertise positions her as a versatile professional capable of bridging engineering, economics, and data intelligence to deliver value across the oil and gas value chain. So without further ado, I'll just invite Rita to take over from here and take us through our business for today. Thank you. Rita.
Thanks, Ada. Thank you very much. Good day, everyone. I'll share my slides shortly. Please let me know when you can.
We can see your screen.
All right. So thank you very much, Ada, once again. So today our topic is the role of well test data in hydrocarbon accounting. My name is Rita Iwekopa. I'm a petroleum engineer with Accurate Energy Limited. I'll be a facilitator for today. So let's proceed. Today we'll be looking at well test overview, hydrocarbon accounting overview, then seeing well testing and hydrocarbon accounting together. Then Adam, during our company profile, Adam mentioned something about Axis. So I'll give a brief introduction to Axis. Then we close. And if you have any questions, you could ask. You could ask. You can interject as I proceed. That's acceptable, or you can wait towards the end to ask your questions. Thank you. All right, so let's look at well testing. So what is a well test? So the well test is just simply a means to evaluate your reservoir through your well bore. So you're accessing the reservoir performance by measuring flow rates and pressure under a range of flowing conditions, and then apply the data to mathematical models to take decisions. The idea is just to get pressure response, see the response the reservoir gives when you produce or inject into it, and that will help you make informed decisions. So why do we carry out well tests? We do this first to confirm geology, because from your geological models, there are things that your models have told you. Without drilling into the well and performing various tests, you can't confirm those interpretations. So that's one of the reasons we perform well tests. We also do this to get fluid samples for PBT analysis, pore analysis, and also flow assurance studies. We do this for reservoir pressure. Without well tests, you can't know the pressures of the reservoir. We do this check for heterogeneity, like if this reservoir maybe has dual porosity or permeability, if there's a fault somewhere, if the boundaries, what kind of boundaries do you have? So you get information from well test. You can get a good estimate of the skin or damage to the reservoir or permeability with well test. From well test, you can also determine the deliverability of the reservoir. This means to know how much this reservoir can deliver to you. From your well test, you can determine your efficiency rates. That's your MER, which is a regulatory requirement anyway. Yeah, also for regulatory requirements. So MER, you are expected to do MER for each well twice in a year. That's at every half. And you send your results to NPRC, that's the Nigerian regulator, and they give you your technical library rates. You are not allowed to produce above that rate due to, reservoir performance reasons and even economical reasons. If you produce above your technical library rate, you could damage the reservoir, and now you are in a rush to produce so much, and you might end up not getting value for that asset at all. So that's one of the reasons of well test. And also for production application, which we'll be seeing shortly. So when do we carry out well tests? Well test is done throughout the life cycle of the reservoir. From exploration, when you drill a well, you carry out the geostem test to know, okay, how commercial is this acreage that I have gotten. You also, how commercial it is, how much it can deliver to the surface. That's during your exploratory phase. During your appraisals, you just, get the larger size of your acreage. During production, for production management, if you have carried out the stimulation, you have to do a well test to ensure that if the stimulation was a success or not. For to also see if some other well is tapping from your reservoir, maybe some other company. So these are some of the reasons these are some of the reasons we carry out well tests during our reservoir life cycle. So before I proceed to hydrocarbon accounting, I think Ada has some questions to display just to see if we've been following. Can you share the questions, please?
So the questions are coming up right now.
Do I have to stop sharing my screen?
No, not at all. So the polls are now available. Kindly put in your answers.
This is just to see if we've been following. They are simple questions. We'll look at them before I proceed. Right. So I guess we can proceed. A lot of us got the answers correctly. So I'll proceed. Okay. So if you look at an overview of hydrocarbon accounting. So what is hydrocarbon accounting? Hydrocarbon accounting simply means it's a system, it's defined as a system whereby ownership of oil and gas liquids to produce water is determined and tracked from the point of production to the point of sales. It simply means I want to know, so from my wells to my fuel station or to a gathering system to the LACT unit to the terminals and to export lines. I just want to basically that this hydrocarbon accounting helps you know who owns what amount of oil, what amount of hydrocarbon here. So that's what it's about. So unlike regular accounting where you are looking at financial transactions, hydrocarbon accounting just tracks physical quantities of oil and gas. And it's important because it directly affects the share of each partner involved in the extraction process. Hydrocarbon accounting also provides important information that helps with planning, production, using assets effectively and managing finances in the oil and gas industry. These are terminologies you would see in hydrocarbon accounting, production planning, production measurement, production deferment, production allocation, and production reporting. I'll explain them as we proceed. So what is production planning? So basically, at the beginning of the month, everybody makes plans. So, you've determined that, oh, okay, there's a question, please. There was a hands up. I saw someone's eyes. Can I proceed? Someone raised their hands.
Rita, you can proceed. The questions are meant to be dropped for you in the chat box, then you can get to them later.
Thank you.
Yes.
So back to production planning. You've estimated the volumes of hydrocarbon you would be getting in a month, and you do this at the beginning of the month typically. Let's say, for example, you intend to get about 10,000 barrels of oil from this field. So that's the plan for the month. Anything you get, if you put that's just like a theoretical, it's a forecast basically. You've predicted that, okay, this month, based on my well capacities, my well potentials, I would be able to produce 10,000 barrels per month. So that's production planning. So all your calculations will be centered around this. So onto production measurements. Um, you have to measure all the your volumes, and these are some measuring instruments. This is the lax unit. This is used when like you are going to be interfacing with another company that is not yours. So it's a liquid automated custody transfer unit. So you flow your crude into this, it measures yours, and other third parties, other companies can also bring their crudes here so that everybody knows what they brought at this point. That's what the lax unit is for. But on your own side of your company, you have meters like the PD meter, the positive displacement meter, the caloric meter to measure your liquid volumes. If you had a gas plant to measure the energy you'll be generating, you need a turbine meter for that. An opto sampler, this just helps you measure. It helps you measure the amount of water in your crude. So basically, it gives you your BS and W reading with this. For your gas volumes, you need an orifice meter, ultrasonic meter, or any other form of gas meter that you have to measure the gases. So we'll move on to production deferment. So as I said, you had a plan to produce 10,000 barrels for every day of the month. If for any reason you don't produce up to 10,000, let's say you produce 9,000, you have a deferment of 1,000. So that's the production deferment. And this you didn't produce up to that due to reasons like it can be poor equipment performance, it can be capacity constraint. Maybe you don't have capacity to handle the crude, so you will not produce at full capacity. So you would have to track the reasons for why you are not producing up to your expected amounts, right? And over time, and this would help you to identify places that might need intervention. Is it that your wells need intervention, or you need to do like a facility upgrade or repair any piece of equipment? So that's what production deferment is about. So we'll move on to the next one, which is production allocation. So simply called allocation, you can hear terms like allocation or back allocation. They mean the same thing. It's just a process of recalculating the contributions of streams to a commingled flow, depending initially on the flow measurements. The allocation process is a counter process. What this means is that if I'm saying, I said back allocation or production allocation, they mean the same thing. Typically, you have production from your wells to your flow stations, and maybe to a lax unit, and to the terminal. When you are doing production allocation, it's a counter flow process. So now you are taking whatever you see at your terminal back to your lax unit, back to your flow station, back to your well. So it's like the opposite. So it's I don't know if you can see my cursor. Let me okay. Yeah, so something like this. These are the fields that the crude came from. Then it comes to this group. Some other field also produced to this group. They go to this platform, then go to this terminal. Under production allocation processes, I'm going to take the volumes I see at the terminal back to the platform, back to the groups, then back to the fields, then the wells. So it's a counterclockwise flow. And to carry this out, you have to identify tiers. What do I mean by tiers? So tiers is simply here, represents everything that comes in and is coming out. So it's backward. So it's coming out of the terminal and coming into the platform. So this is a tier. Again, from the platform 1 to group 1, 2, and 3 is another tier, because coming out of here and entering this is a tier. Then here from group 1 back to the field, this is another tier. So from this diagram, we're going to identify 3 tiers of the allocation process. So we can look at production allocation. We can categorize them based on their purpose. So we'll categorize them into 2 units. One, fiscal allocation and field allocation. So what's fiscal allocation? Fiscal allocation is just apportioning volumes to individual contribution fields or owners based on their agreed methodology. In other words, I would use this picture to illustrate. So from this picture here, we can see that 3 companies, company A, B, and C, all channel their crude to this terminal. So this is a fiscal allocation process. If I'm going to allocate to this from this terminal back to the 3 companies, I'll be doing a fiscal allocation, right? So that's what this is. Then the next one is the field allocation. So fiscal allocation involves you and other companies, but your field allocation is typically like an in-house kind of allocation. What does that mean? I'm allocating back from my gathering station to my wells, then to my reservoirs if necessary. So this is like external and this is internal. So at this point, I have with the metering devices I have at my gathering system, I know how much crude is here. Then those volumes, I'll take them back to the wells and possibly to the reservoir. So that's on production allocation. Also, production allocation can also be, we have different types of production allocation. We have allocation by difference. Here, what does this mean? Allocation by difference. So I would use the fiscal allocation to explain this. We had company A, B, and C in the previous slide, all channeling their crude to that terminal. Let's say, for example, company A and company B have measuring devices to know the amount of crude they send to terminal A, but company C does not have a measuring device. What allocation by difference means is that the volumes at the terminal will be first back allocated based on the metering results for company A and B to company A and B. Then the deficits would be given to company C. So it's like, if you don't, basically, the idea is that if you don't have a measuring device, you'll be punished for it, because company A and B might get even volumes that didn't come from them to them, because company C does not have a metering device. So another type of allocation is the equity-based allocation. I would use a simple JV contract to illustrate this. So let's say you are in contract with the government, a JV contract, which is typically 60 to 40. So if you have 100 barrels of crude, under equity-based allocation, 60% of that crude, that's 60 barrels, will be given to the government, while 40 will be given to you. Uncertainty-based allocation. So here they bring a lot of probabilistic factors to and apply them to the production. So a company that has a better probabilistic chance of success gets more crude than the one that does not have, right? But the traditional and the popular one is actually the proportional based allocation, which we'll be looking at in more details. So we'll be looking at proportional based allocation. So why do we do this basically? We do this because we want to determine the production at each well in a complex hydrocarbon field. We want to know, we want to improve well and flow line performance and also improve production accountability. So this picture just illustrates the fiscal and the field-based allocation. So from the Omega terminal to Alpha Labs and this flow station, this can be termed as the fiscal allocation because these are different parties. But from the Alpha flow station to these wells, or the Bravo flow station to these wells, and the Charlie flow station to these wells, this is an example of a field-based allocation. Okay, so here we'll be looking at, we've known about hydrocarbon accounting. We also know about well test, so we'll move to merging them together, well test data and hydrocarbon accounting. But before that, Ada, can you please display the questions again? I think I have some questions for this session. Ada, can you hear me? Thank you. All right. Okay, I think we're done with the poll and everyone got the answers correctly. So I don't think I would need to explain that. Okay, so far we've learned about well tests. Okay. Yeah, I can take your question, please. Someone raised their hands. You can.
Okay, thank you, Rita. What a wonderful presentation so far. I just wanted to draw your attention back when you were explaining the different types of allocation methodology. When you didn't speak more on the uncertainty allocation, base allocation, I wanted to listen to examples of those uncertainty that you use on that uncertainty based allocation. Like a typical example of what uncertainty do you use to determine the uncertainty based allocation? So I clearly understand the proportional, the equity base, and the allocation by difference. But on the uncertainty, you didn't mention a typical example of what uncertainty do we use for this type of allocation.
Okay, so here probabilistic parameters will be attached to the production of each well, and wells with higher probabilistic measures are allocated more volumes to this. But traditionally, most persons just go with proportional based allocation, because for uncertainty based allocation, you might need to be using high-tech probabilistic tools like using Monte Carlo simulation. You might have to run that via MATLAB and all, which the difference or accuracy to actuality might not be so different from proportional based allocation. So most companies just go with the proportional based allocation. But if you want to, go into the nitty-gritty, yeah, uncertainty based allocation is very accurate. I could share some
Okay, if you can
maybe
share,
some papers on
that would
that.
be lovely.
Yeah, I'll share some papers on that. I'll say maybe when Ada is sending like a feedback, she might I'll send one to her so you could have a look at it.
Yeah, because I was looking at such something like metering accuracy from your production meters, looking at
Yes.
the uncertainty in the auto sampling system, the uncertainty in your BS and W analysis and stuff like that to actually get. I don't know much about this uncertainty based allocation. I'm very familiar with the proportional. That's why I'm trying to I've heard it.
I'll send a paper across.
Okay, that would be interesting. Thank you very much. It has been good so far. Well done.
All right. Thank you very much.
Rita, there's also a question in the chat box, and okay, I think he has his hand up, so I guess he can go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? Because since my mic was disabled.
Yes, please, we can hear you. Your mic is now enabled.
Okay, I mean, I put some stuff on the chat box, and so I mean, it would be nice to some of the it just based on what the last speaker said. They are certainty based, and we know we have a lot of certainties in our location today. So I'm beginning to think if maybe we may need to see how we can adopt that approach to see if it will help us reduce some of the uncertainties that we have, in our production allocation. And in addition to the question that has been asked, I would like to know, do we have scenarios where that has been applied in the Niger data today, and how has the results been so far? I mean, I want to see real life cases of that allocation type. Thanks.
Yeah, so studies have been done on uncertainty base. So we're talking about well tests today, and we know that, I think I'll talk about it. We know that NEPRC mandates that every well should be tested at least once a month, right? So that's actually an uncertainty. So you'll notice that your allocation accuracy increases if you test your wells more frequently. Like if you test your wells twice in a month, and you get a better well potential compared to when you just do it once in a month, or so that's also part of an uncertainty-based allocation, right? But as I said earlier, I would send a paper to that. I saw one, but I'm not so sure if it was applied in the Niger Delta, but I'll send it across. Okay, these are reading notes. Okay. All right, so in proportional based allocation, to determine the back allocated volume contributions from a flow station or gas plant to a well, we would use this formula, simply determining your allocation factor and using it to multiply the allocated volumes. Then, so allocation factor for each well or for each element, and use it to get your the volumes that were back allocated to the wells. So this allocation factor, it can be estimated in three methods, either using the latest well test, a multi-phase meter, or a well model. So I'll speak on a well model. Your well model is simply, if you're able to get a good enough model to determine your well production rates, this can be used. But we know that a lot of companies or a lot of things don't really have representative models, right? So we would not be looking at this. Also, a multi-phase meter. This is actually the most accurate method to determine your allocation factor. However, the challenge is that it's expensive, right? Like your multi-phase meter now, you have to install it on each of the wells. 1 unit of a multi-phase meter is not cheap, right? And imagine you have an asset of 100 wells. Are you going to install 100 of that? That's a lot of money. Another reason is that your multi-phase meter, some of them are intrusive. So to install these meters, you might need to shorten the wells. Now you're shortening the well, you're creating a deferment, which will now translate to loss of dollars. I don't think companies really want that. So traditionally, again, what most companies do is just use the latest well test. As I said earlier, this method is only this method here, latest well tests, your data is only as good as the testing you did. If your tests are good, so it is expected that if you can do multiple tests in a month, you'll be able to get an actual true trend of your well potential. If not, you might be allocating wrongly. This might not be a problem if you are doing a field allocation, because even if you allocate, it's not good practice. If you allocate wrong volumes to other wells, it's still within your internal assets. But imagine your flow station is commingled with a third party. This could be disastrous to you. So you should ensure that our well tests are done accurately to get accurate results. Oh yeah, okay, I explained it. Okay, yeah, I think this is what we just talked about previously. All right, so I'll do a quick demonstration, or just a run through of how this works basically. We'll be looking at fiscal and field allocation here. So these are 3 wells on this flow station, and these are their well test rates. This is the gathering system that these wells go to. At the gathering system, we noticed the volumes were 350 barrels, right? The liquid volumes are 350 barrels. Then the gas volumes go to this gas pipeline to a gas plant. This is for company A. There's a company B also having 100 barrels of oil. Company A and B take their crude to this last unit. At this last unit, we're having a measurement of 390 barrels. So we're going to do an allocation process to see how much each element contributes. Like basically, we're going to split these 390 barrels back to the companies and back to the wells. And we would see that the values will not be the same because we know that there might be losses along the way, there might be thefts. So this just helps you see if this were your initial, this is what the wells gave you, and at this point you're getting 390. This would help you, determine, is it that my meters are bad? Is it that there's a theft problem in my line? Is it that there's pigging? So once you see that the difference between what entered and what you're getting at your terminals is very large, you will know that okay, there's work needed to be done. You need to still fix the line, you need to correct for theft or things like that. So on the well side, we would see we have well tests. These are the well tests for the wells. So these are the well potentials actually. What this means is that in a day, all things being equal, this well should give us 200 barrels of oil for that day. We should get 200 barrels in that day. For well 2, we should get 150 barrels. And for well 3, we should get 100 barrels. Well 1 and 2 produce throughout the day. So we have 24 hours here. While well 3 produced just for 12 hours. So because of this, we know that this well 3 didn't produce up to capacity. So well 3 actually produced just 50 barrels. Now going to company A. So if we take a quick math, 200 plus 150 plus 50, 400. We should be saying 400 at this point, but we are saying 350. Why? We will need to investigate why that happened. Could it be, did the oil shrink? It's possible the oil shrunk, so you investigate that. How do you investigate that? You check your VCF. If your VCF was 1, whatever you have here should be here also. VCF, that means volume correction factor, which is a function of your oil line temperature and your API. So it's possible that that's what happened, or basically investigate. So these are just investigative tools for your engineers to go back and think what happened really. So I'll start the allocation process. So let's go. 390. When you do the allocation, you would see, when you do the back allocation, you see that this 100 actually, the real thing was actually 87. The contribution, this company B, the volume of company B for this 390 is actually 87. The volume of company A is 303. So now this 303, I'm going to back allocate it to these wells. As against 50, we're actually getting 38, getting 114 against 150 and against 200. You can see that there's a lot of deferments here from 200 to 152. That's 50 barrels. And if you do the maths with the barrel per dollar per barrel, you would see how much the company might be losing every day. So this is just a typical hydrocarbon accounting process. So I just brought it out here to explain what I did. So here I said back allocation from lags to wells. This is the heading. So the lags volume was 308.8. To allocate it to the companies, I did this mathematics. Okay, I think it's here. We can just follow from here. This is very explanatory. So allocation to company A. Company A volume, company X volume over the total company volume times lags volume. So for company A, which was 350 over 350 plus 100 times 390. So that company A allocated volume is 303. For company B, they measured 100 initially, but against 390, their actual volume that got to the lags is 866. So now back to company A. So we want to back allocate company A volumes to the wells. So I said well allocation, well X volume over total volume times company, like times company volume. What's the total well volume? 200 plus 150. It was 100 I was given a question, but well 3 didn't flow for the whole day. So it just produced for 12 hours. So I had to prorate it to a day, and that's how I got 50. So I got 400 barrels. So for well 1 volume, 200 over 400 times this gives us this and that. So this is your typical back allocation process that is carried out. It could be more complex than this, depending on how the company's operations or how complex the company's asset looks. Typically, we know that Excel is a very good tool for this, and most companies, a lot of companies use Excel. Everybody knows that Excel is like the foundation of every form of analysis you do. But Excel has its limitations. If it cannot guarantee you of security, cannot guarantee you of data integrity and some things. So it is necessary that it's good that companies don't necessarily rely on their hydrocarbon accounting processes, and they get a good hydrocarbon accounting tool. A good hydrocarbon accounting tool should be able to do this for you, able to accurately capture your data, handle your field, facility, flow meter allocations, be able to generate reports that will meet local and international standards. Excel will not do this. To be able to audit your data inputs and your calculation, to be able to integrate it with your historians to get real-time data and all your other SCADA system. It should be scalable, supports single to multi-assets. Excel, the Excel model you'll be using for this will be very complicated and it won't be user-friendly. So here at Acrit Energy, there are a lot of tools in the market currently, but we have a very good one, state of the art, which is called the Axis software. It's a hydrocarbon accounting tool that helps you with all your hydrocarbon accounting problems. It's bespoke, by the way. So it's tailored to meet your business requirements. It can be used in the upstream, midstream, and downstream for production application, which we've discussed, for storage, offtake, commercial, and reporting. Some of these are midstream and downstream processes. But for the upstream arm, I would explain the upstream arm, but for the midstream and downstream, we have Axis Gas, Axis Tanker, Axis LNG. So here you can put your gas contracts, basically you can convert those contracts into models. It would do the allocation processes for you to generate bills, to manage your gas data and give you reports that you can share within your company to third party, to even the government. Your Axis Tanker, your tanker movements, your forecasting, how much the tanks have lifted, what is in stock, and that. So Axis Tanker does that for you. Axis LNG, your energy calculations, your gas heating volume, liquefaction management data, regasification management data, and also reporting. Basically, all our Axis tools do good reporting for you. It's bespoke. So you tell us how you want, basically the tool is bespoke. You tell us how your operations work. We transform that into mathematical models and you get your results. So Axis Production, this is a comprehensive solution for production data management. It takes your raw measurements, that's you use your PD meter, your orifice meter, your calories meter, you take those readings, put into the system and gives you definitive production statements, which can be shared to government, your partner, and internal consumer. So the key functionalities here is automated and data manual load. You can, in Axis Production, you can connect real-time data to it. So if you have any historian that you stream data from your field, so it could go automatically, or you can do a manual data input. That works. On the data validation side, things like, imagine someone mistakenly puts a BS&W of negative. If you do that on Excel, it might not throw an error. The calculations will run, but on Axis, you would see it that, oh, this is wrong. You should not be having negative volumes. You can also put minimum, maximum value. So if you make an input that is not within the acceptable range, you would see the error that, okay, this is wrong, this is not acceptable. So things like that. Another one is if you input a well test into the system, which is greater than your technical liable rates. it would flag that this well test it exceeds your SAR. Excel will not do that. Well, it can, but this captures it better for you. Here it helps you capture a well test information, your sample analysis. Axis is a very good data repository tool. You know that everybody in the company can just come and get whatever necessary information they have. So your data is not scattered everywhere. You can just come to Axis and get everything. Axis helps you with production planning. Yeah, it tells you, okay, these are the wells you intend to produce from for the month. You just go select the wells and it calculates your forecasted gross production for the month. It would help you calculate your allocations to your field, well reservoir, and your JV partners. Then on Axis, you can design specific reports to meet your needs. How is the software set up? Axis is set up within the Microsoft technology. So you are sure technology is very stable. So you are sure that you are getting a very good secured system. Axis can be set up either on cloud. The database. So basically, it has a database that connects to an application server, and you can access it via any web application, any browser, with your phone, with your iPad, anything, your desktop. You can access it on multiple devices at the same time, different users at the same time. So it doesn't have to say, okay, one person has to go into the system, then you log out, and someone else logs in. No, everybody can work at the same time, and the system will not crash, and you get your results. So this is just the hardware requirements for IT persons of what Axis would. These are the hardware requirements for installation of Axis. As I said earlier, Axis can be hosted on the cloud or on-prem. For on-prem, and maybe you're outside your office facility, you can access it maybe via VPN connection, or how your IT personnel determines for you to connect, or it can be hosted on the cloud. So anywhere you are in the world, you can just log into your Axis platform. So Axis also, I said Axis can take inputs from historians and other applications, other data sources. Yeah, it can also feed to other. It can also be a data source to other BI tools, for example, Power BI, Tableau, or anything, and you can do your analysis. So what this does is that if the reports you have configured on Axis, maybe they're not sufficient, you have other analysis you like to do, you can take the data, you can directly integrate Axis to your other BI tools for analysis and for you to get great visuals. Axis has its own visuals that have been configured, but if you want more, or you have some certain visuals you want, you can integrate it to a BI tool. We have done this with Power BI for some of our clients. So benefits of using Axis is flexible. It's very flexible. Basically, it kind of tells us how their business operation works, and we convert this to mathematical models and give them results. You can see an audit trail. You can see who entered what values and when they entered those values on Axis. You can see who changed those values. So you can it's not a situation whereby someone just comes to the system and deletes a record. No, it's always saved somewhere in the database, and if you can always check that. It performs complex calculations accurately. Now, data authorization. We know that, yes, maybe for some tools, you can, let me use Excel again. You can lock the Excel workbook, but some people have found ways to always unlock it and do what they have to do. On Axis, if you don't have the right credentials to log into a system, you don't have the right permissions. For example, if you're not configured to impute well tests, you're not configured to run allocations, you won't be able to do that. You won't even see those functionalities. So things like these are why you should choose Axis as your preferred hydrocarbon accounting tool. As I said, it also has a data repository, right? So you don't have to have your company information just scattered around SharePoint. On Axis, you have everything. If you need sample analysis from previous years, you can just go and get those data and use it for what you want to do. Also, Axis, if you pick Axis as your hydrocarbon accounting solution, your guarantees of continuous support. You could call our team to help you to solve problems. It's a software, so things might go not as expected, and guarantee you very fast fixing rates. These are some of our clients we've been working with over the years, and just a few: NAPL, Heritage, Seplat, WM 11, and some of our foreign clients too. Now for the demo, we've spent, our time is fast spent. I won't be able to do a demo right now, but if you need a demo, if your company needs a demo, please send a mail to accessupport@acquitltd.com and we'll prepare a demo for you. Hopefully be able to convince you to join to get the Axis software as your hydrocarbon accounting true solution. So thank you very much. That will be all for today. Open to take your questions now.
Please, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Rita. What a wonderful presentation. My question is on allocation example, that illustration you did. Because if you look from that allocation page, from my understanding there, I strongly believe that there was a loss on the line, because that's why you had what was claimed, I would say what was actually injected into the line from company A and company B was 400 barrels. And you got 390 barrels.
Yes.
Basically, that clearly shows that there was a loss on the line.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Okay. Before you now apply you use the allocation methodology, you divided the 390 by 450, you got about, I think, 0.87 as your allocation factor, which you apply to company A. Then for company B, I think it was because their production dropped because there was the downtime of deferment because of the well 3 that
No,
actually
so
produced for 12 hours.
no. Well 3 is flowing to is a company A well.
Yeah, company A well. That's what I'm saying. The production for company A actually dropped because of well 3
Yes,
production
that's
that was
correct.
12 hours. Okay,
Yes, that's
okay.
correct.
Okay. So my question was, I wanted to be sure that there was loss on the line. That was why we didn't get 450 at the latch unit.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that.
Okay. Yeah. So Adeyemi Momo, he said, what's the average cost to company for first adopters, and how long does onboarding process take for brownfield? So can you send a mail to Axis Support, please, so that we'll not be able to take that question here. So we'll just take it outside of.
Rita, just in response to Adeyemi, thank you for joining us. Axis has no fixed cost. As Rita mentioned earlier, it's a made-to-fit solution, and it depends on your assets, it depends on the number of wells you have, depends on how large your field is, the activities you do, whether you badge or not. So based on this, we don't really have a fixed cost for it. However, after the session, I'll share a questionnaire with you. This helps us understand what we'll be working with, and it helps us cost better. So that's how we do it. So after the session, I'll share a questionnaire with you, Mr. Adeyemi.
Yes, the slides will be shared. I'll share it to all participants after. Okay, Olayemi, please.
Please unmute and ask your question, Olayemi.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you, Rita, for the your great insights. I just want to ask these questions. This allocation methodology. I want to ask, how do you apply the allocation method when you have different complaints with on spec crude? Maybe complaint A in the area of the API has a light crude, and complaint B they are producing heavy crude, and they are pushing into a trunk line, particular trunk line. So at the latch unit there, how do you apply your methodology, allocation methodology for different on-spec crude? I don't know, maybe you get my questions.
So for uniformity, the crude volumes will be corrected with the volume correction factor. So I explained earlier that it's a function of the oil line temperature and the API of the crude. So there's a calculation that will be done. You estimate the VCF factor, which will be applied on the gross coming from each party.
Okay.
Before they are summed up, yes.
Okay. So it's tied down to VCF?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you.
All right, Rita, there's also a question that was dropped for you in the chat box. I think you missed it, so I'll just read it out. It says, how can you improve the accuracy of equity-based allocation if the JV partners have conflicting disputes due to production variations? I'm not sure you attended to that question.
Okay, so on that note, I think the best you can do is to get a good measuring device. So some companies would get the LAX units or auto samplers to accurately measure what they're actually sending to the gathering system, so that there's no dispute. And the one that does not have a measuring device, a good measuring system, it will now fall back to allocation by difference. Those that have measuring devices, they will get a better form of allocation than the one that does not have. So so I think on that one, they've even gone beyond equity. They are now doing allocation by difference. So the party that is being possibly shortchanged would have to get the measuring device to avoid that. Ada?
Okay,
Your
thank you,
hands
Rita.
up.
That question was asked by Edzang Umbot, so I'm not sure if we have answered your question.
Okay.
Edzang. It was dropped in the chat box earlier. I think they're still on the call, so. Okay. If there's no response, I guess we can just move on. Olayemi, do you have a new question, or this is from earlier?
Yeah, I just want to know the difference between data allocation and maybe data reconciliation. That's my questions. Data allocation and data reconciliation.
Daily allocation and daily allocation and maybe
reconciliation.
a monthly reconciliation. Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay. So for daily allocation, it's a daily process. So people can do daily allocations. They want to back allocate volumes from their flow station, basically their gathering systems back to their wells, reservoirs, and the rest. Then the one that you have for reconciliation, you are back allocating, typically you're back allocating volumes from the terminal, because I think you get your terminal volumes on a monthly basis.
Yes.
I don't know if you get it on a daily, yeah. So something like it. So you now take the terminal volumes to then you now back allocate. So most times your daily allocation can be a provisional form of allocation, because you don't know, other losses might occur along the lines till you get to the terminal. So you might wait till the end of the month, then from your terminal allocated volumes, you now do another allocation back to your wells again. So that's the difference.
All
So the
right.
first one can be seen as provisional, then the other one is final.
Fine. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Your hand is up. You have another question?
No. I think I'm fine. I'm fine. Fine.
I think you can close the session.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think our time is very much fast spent. I guess that shows how interesting a session this was. Thank you so much, Rita, for imparting us with this knowledge. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We truly appreciate that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to join us today for another Accurate Quarterly webinar. After the session, the link to the recording and the slides will be shared via email with you. And it will also be up, the video will also be up on our YouTube channel by next week. So, okay, I think another question just came up. So we can just take that last question and then bring the session to a close. So Rita, there's a question in the chat, the last question, and we'll just close.
Okay, so there's no special method. So what I mean is that on my slide I put well 1, well 2, and well 3, or well ABC. But it's possible that well 1 and well 2 are actually from the same well, but just different streams. So maybe well 1 can be well 1 Lima, and well 2 is actually just well 1 Syria too. So on axis, we are taking both the long and the short string, that's the dual string completion, as individual elements, as individual wells. So you do a well test for the long string, you do a well test for the short string. So you take them as separate entities, and the allocation too will also be separate entities. Yes, we know that the allocation process would still aggregate it to the back to reservoir level and field level. Yes, there will be an aggregation somewhere, but in the back allocation process, we actually take them separately. Well, the longer string is separate from the shorter string.
Okay, Ifeanyi, you can unmute and ask your question, please.
Yeah, sorry, I think we are rounding up. I said let me just see if I can have any additional information or improvement on what we're currently doing. I'm not sure, Rita, you've addressed the question, rightly. I mean, gas lifted wells. How do we allocate gas back to them? I'm not talking about oil or water. So you have dual string wells that are sharing the same casing, and you're injecting, and both are taking in gas, and both are producing gas.
Yes.
How do we properly allocate gas back to them and
Yeah.
account correctly for the amount of gas that each string is taking in from the casing? Thanks.
Yeah. So okay, your gas lifted. So there's a place to impute your gas lifted volumes, and when you are allocating back, the mathematics to either subtract before you allocate to the well, it is done on axis via the allocation process. So all this is actually taken care of during the allocation, whether it's oil, gas, or water, or gas lifted. If it's a gas lifted well, In your wealth test, you already included that. So in the allocation process, it is catered for.
Well, it's okay. I wanted you to kind of break it down. Let me actually know what's going on at the back end. But no problem. If you don't have the answer now, that's fine.
All right, thank you. So, I see that we have so many questions. I think there was just a new question dropped in the chat as well. We will just take that final last question just so that we are not ignoring anyone. And you can always contact us with questions that you have. The email to contact and the phone number will be shared in the feedback email that will be sent after this session. So Rita, just the final question from Suye. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Says, please, do you have a basic sheet or formula for gas rate computation for from well test?
Yes, we do. We do that. I think you sent this message on LinkedIn. I'll respond to you on LinkedIn. I forgot to skip. I'll respond today, please. So we can talk about it.
Thank you, Rita.
Yes.
All right, then. Thank you once again, everybody. At this point, we really do have to close because our time is fast spent. I will share additional information with everyone after the session. The numbers to contact, additional information for studies and reading, and then the recording for the session and also the slides. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a nice weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.